Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO.
3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the 3DO company, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Oh, I'm doing all right, Bill. Getting ready for the Thanksgiving break. How are you?
I'm doing good. I had to fight someone at a grocery store for a bottle of salad dressing. That was fun.
What kind of salad dressing?
So Alex is cooking something for when we go up to our parents' house on Thursday, and she had messaged me today. She's like, "Can you stop at the grocery store and just grab like a few things?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't think anything of it. I pull into the parking lot. I walk into the store, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like,
that's when you know it's Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. So I'm like looking around. Like she needed Parmesan cheese and vinaigrette Caesar dressing, and I found the Parmesan cheese. All right. I get to the salad dressing aisle. It's a fucking war zone. I was like, holy shit. Like people just destroyed this fucking aisle. And I'm looking down. I'm like, shit, I don't see it. I look really far into the back and there's like one bottle way in the back where like no one can reach it. And like this, I see like three other people trying to get it. And I just kind of like reached in, grabbed it and just said, sucks to suck, and just ran off.
Did you actually say that?
Yeah. I was tired.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't miss work in the grocery store, especially around this time.
Oh, people were fighting over shit. I was like, what the fuck? Is it COVID again? Like, holy shit.
It's just people get crazy. But you didn't say what type of salad dressing is it?
Oh, but vinaigrette Caesar.
Okay. Well, hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
Considering you had to leapfrog over like three people.
Yeah,
crazy.
Dodge people because I had slightly longer arms.
So I had to go to the grocery, I think it was yesterday, and it wasn't too bad.
Nah, well, originally I was going to pass today and do it tomorrow, and like, thank God I didn't, because God knows what tomorrow would be like.
Yeah, exactly. So I went Monday because I was like, I got a little bit of free time. Let me just get in there and get the couple things I need and then just dip the fuck out. And I did. So, and of course, all the grocery stores are like, oh, we have our Christmas decorations up. And it's like, I get why I do, but it's annoying.
I know in like a couple of years, there's just going to be year-round Halloween and Christmas. They're just going to give in year-round.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like say they're like seasonal section. They just have like one little 4-foot shelf for like Christmas stuff and one 4-foot shelf for like Halloween stuff. And like, that's it year-round. Then we all just kind of get used to it. You know, it is what it is kind of a thing. So,
yeah.
Hey, see, if Halloween was a guaranteed day off, I'd be fine with it. I mean, I like Halloween, you know, because it's fun overall. And Christmas is nice because you get some time off. But, you know, that's about it. And Thanksgiving, it's nice. We get some time off. I have Thursday and Friday off, so I'll get a nice 4-day weekend. So
same. Thanksgiving's like my favorite holiday these days because it's just like the most chill, like relaxing. You just go chill with the family, eat food, fall asleep, wake up.
Yeah. As long as you enjoy your family.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who do not have a good time in Thanksgiving, unfortunately.
True.
And this one might be bad for those Thanksgiving dinner conversations. So.
Yeah. Thankfully, we're pretty much, we all know each other and we know exactly where we're at. So I don't have any worries about that.
Yeah. And this Thanksgiving, it's just me and my parents and one of my uncles. That's basically it, which is fine. It doesn't need to be anything that crazy.
Yeah. It's always been me, Alex, and our parents for like the last like decade. So it's pretty much the same thing for us. Just now we have to make that 2-hour drive in the morning.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad.
I don't have to go anywhere. It's great. I can sleep
Nice.
in. I'll wake up and smell turkey. So before we get to our topic for this week, I guess we can talk about some news. I don't think we'll spend as long on the news as we did last week. So Nobody complained as far as I know, which, thank you guys. But there's a couple things. Won't get too crazy. It's a lot of light shit stuff I wanted to talk about. So one thing it always makes me happy to talk about is this guy, Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. Mm-hmm. I'm still working my way through it. I got hooked on a game called Inscription, which, if you're listening and you know the game, I'm pretty far in. I'm deep into Act 3, so that's all I'll say. Anyways, but yeah, Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. It is the best-selling game of the year in Japan.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it sold over 800,000 copies in Japan alone, which makes it the best-selling game in Japan for the entire year, which is amazing considering how late in the year we are and how many games have come out, that have probably done pretty well in Japan. And for this old-ass 1990s game, getting another fresh coat of paint to sell almost 1 million copies in its native, it sold, I think it was over 600,000 on Switch and over 100,000 on PS5. And I have the one Xbox copy that was sold. So yeah, that's not true. Aaron has the other one. It's amazing to me that this game still can do the things that it can do.
It amazes me in Japan how big Dragon Quest is. They love their Dragon. The PS1, that console has so many amazing RPGs. Dragon Quest VII, good game. Not the best RPG on the system, but in Japan, they fucking love that. I think it's still the best-selling game on the PS1 in Japan.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. And Dragon Quest VIII is the best-selling PS2 game in Japan.
See, that one at least I could make an argument for. Seven's it's not
it's
great.
Just it just shows how popular the series is over there. Even when Dragon Quest XI came out, I think it sold like over 500,000 copies in a weekend. And by comparison, Mario Odyssey sold 300,000 in a weekend. You know what I mean? It's just the series will continue to sell more and more, and it's been creeping over in the West and been doing a lot better in the West. I imagine this guy's done decently well over here.
Oh yeah,
I imagine. And I imagine, and when 12 comes out, the next mainline one, I won't be surprised if that is its big breakthrough. Because 11 almost was, but I think 12 will get it over the hill, provided it doesn't fuck around too much.
My other concern too is this is the first Dragon Quest since we've lost Toriyama and to a lesser extent
Sugiyama. Yeah. Well, this one it still maintains the art from Toriyama and the music from Sugiyama. It's still in here. I know Sugiyama. I can't remember his name, but he did have an apprentice that he was building up to be his replacement. Again, I can't remember his name. He's worked on other games in the past, and he has a good track record for stuff. So I imagine the music will be in good hands. From what I know of him, I'm sure he'll do just fine. And with Toriyama, it'll be interesting to see where it goes without him. I mean,
get the guy that's doing the super manga right now, Togataro. He's got a very close style.
I could see that, and with all these Toriyama always had a team of artists helping him out, anyways. So, it wasn't always just him doing everything. He was well past having to draw every single character, Yeah. He would sketch the ideas. Oh, for sure. He would sketch idea. It's a lot more complicated of a process these days, but it still very much had his hand on it. But again, I'm sure those the art and the music will be in good hands. It's just, I'll be worried when Yuji Horii dies, what'll happen to the series, because he's the game designer, the creator, and he's been at the helm of the series the entire time.
It was those three
because Square does not technically own it. It owns exclusive publishing rights, but it does not own the IP. So it'll be interesting to see if he dies, then does it become an official Square IP, and then what happens to it then, which would concern me a bit, but that's cross the bridge when we get to it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But Dragon Quest III, I'm glad it's selling really well. It reviewed pretty well. I think it's in a mid 80, I think 85 or something on Metacritic, which is about right. So yeah, great game, and everybody knows playing has been enjoying it. So y'all should check it out. A bit of a surprise announcement. Again, this is a me thing. The Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is coming to Switch. So, for those who don't know, the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 are PC classics, games that I grew up on and played to death. Who's the guy who made them? What was his name? Was it Tom Sawyer, the creator of him? I can't remember.
I think Chris Sawyer. Yeah.
Chris Sawyer. Yeah. He did 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 were known for their like kind of like 2D isometric, art styles, right? He did 1. I'm pretty sure he did 2 as well.
He did the base 2. All the DLC for 2 was done by Frontier Developments, who would later go on to do 3.
Thank you. So, but quite a few years ago, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic came out, and that was sort of a weird combination of 1 and 2. The best way to describe it, it's like it takes both games and it kind of ports them and throws them into like one big game that's meant to sort of like celebrate the classic Roller Coaster Tycoon IP, because I believe it's still owned by Atari. Yes. And it is I have it on PC, and it is fantastic. It's like the best way to play the original 1 and 2. And it's getting a Switch port in December, which is really cool. Nice. I doubt I will be buying it. I mean, I might. I don't know. I mean,
I bought Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and played the shit out of that on Switch when it came out.
I have Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I haven't played 3 at that point, so I bought it on Switch, and I've put quite a few hours into it. It's really fun.
It's the last good one, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, these days, if you want a really good like theme park management game, I recommend Planet Coaster.
Also,
Planet Coaster. Yeah, Planet Coaster 2 came out recently. I haven't really looked into that, but I have the original Planet Coaster, and it has like a shit ton of DLC for it. And it is a genuinely fantastic game. It has a really cool art style, a good sense of humor, and it's really fun. Like, those games are just nice to chill and just relax. You know what I mean?
Frontiers makes really good stuff. Like, they mostly make simulation games. They also made 2 Wallace and Gromit games.
I know those games. Escape from... It's the Zoo one. Project Zoo. Escape from Project Zoo. Yeah, which then they made the average.
And then the Curse of the Rarebit Rabbit game, which is also kind of average.
Yeah, so they have a interesting history, but they seem to have found their footing with like all these, like, they did Jurassic World Evolution. They just did like an Age of Sigmar game recently. They do the F1 Manager games. Planet Coaster, Elite Dangerous was them as well, which people seem to really like. So
I think they also did Planet Zoo.
Yeah, Planet Zoo, like all that stuff is them, and they're killing it. So, but yeah, it's cool to see Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic getting this Switch port. If it did come to Xbox, I would buy it. I would, but it is what it is. I'm not too heartbroken about it.
I still have that really janky port of 1 that's on Xbox for whatever reason.
That is a janky port. I think I have it too. Yeah, because I saw it and I was like, I gotta get that. And then it's Roller Coaster Tycoon, but with an Xbox controller, which doesn't work as it's not awful, but you're better off with like a mouse and keyboard.
It's kind of like playing Theme Park on 3DO. It's like, I see the potential, but it doesn't work here.
Yeah, but at least base Roller Coaster Tycoon is a much better game.
True.
So, we got some NSO drops. Has there been any music drops recently?
There was today, and it's very underwhelming.
Let me look it up then. Don't tell me.
I won't.
See, for some reason, the music app on my phone, I have to load it up twice. Like, I'll load it up once, and then it'll sit on the loading forever. But then if I close it and open it again immediately, it works. I don't know why, but it does. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can pick out the new one. Is it Brain Age?
Yep. I was gonna make a joke about. You got to really think here.
Oh my god, fucking assholes!
Nintendo is so fucking confusing with shit like this. It's like what is their end goal here?
I mean, if they're doing 1 album a week, it's like that's not the worst cadence in the world, but still, like, come on, guys.
It's just like sometimes we'll get something great, like when we got like DKC 2, we got
SRX,
and then we have weeks where it's like Mario Wonder, Wii Sports, Brain Age, and it's like, okay,
yeah, like the Wii Sports music isn't bad, but that's not people remember about Wii Sports. No,
like,
but I guess we'll go to the NSO drops. We got Donkey Kong Land and Donkey Kong Land 2.
No Land 3 though.
It'll probably come. Because they did land like just randomly one day, and then a couple days later, they're like, here's 2. So my guess is probably by like Thanksgiving, they'll be like, here's land 3. That's probably what they're going to do.
For the people that haven't played the Donkey Kong Land series, it's like, imagine Donkey Kong Country, but it looks worse and plays slightly worse. There you go.
Yeah, they're novelties. Like it's impressive. The Game Boy.
They were cooler back in the day. Like that's the way I.
Yeah, like it was impressive. They were able to do that, but you know, with NSO, it's like you'll pop it on, play it for like 10 minutes maybe, and be like, all right, and then move on with your life.
I wonder if they'll put on the port of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Color. That's really weird.
Oh, that would be cool. Or they do the GBA versions of fucking Donkey Kong Country.
Those are at least legitimately different, like enough.
Not really.
I mean, they got bonus content and stuff, and honestly,
it's not the same as like when they did the Mario Advance stuff. It's like, well, those were like different enough, you know. But I don't know.
Country 1 on Game Boy Advance at least like makes it kind of in line with the other ones. Then they fixed the save system.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so it's just weird. That's like we can't get like Star Tropics 2, but we can get this shit. You know what I mean? There's still so many first-party Nintendo games.
And then they'll throw like
that's like you own these. What do you like?
Yeah,
why are you being? Just throw them in there.
But then they'll throw like the most random shit out of nowhere. Like we'll get like Alone in the Dark Game Boy Color, which is a cool game.
I love when they do that.
It's still like huh.
I love getting the random ass third party games that probably never would have existed in like a virtual console situation.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's still like, oh yeah, I forgot they added like the 5 Mega Man Game Boy games. Like that's cool as shit. Like those probably wouldn't have been I think those were those virtual console?
Yeah, I own them all on my 3DS.
Okay, well that's cool. But yeah, like the Game Boy one is starting to like really fill out looking at it. You know, like there's some good stuff in here. But
I wonder if they're gonna put Extreme 1 and 2 on that. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. That'd be cool. I always forget we have Game Boy Tetris on here, which is good.
Oh, thank God they finally put that on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, still no. Oh no, we got Mario Land too. I almost said Link's Awakening, the Oracles. Yeah, they're still There's still
Wario Land 3. That's all that matters.
Not the other Wario Lands. Not 1 or 2.
Well,
you know?
1 and 2 are good, but 3 is my favorite in the series. It's like 3 and 4 are like the best two.
And they put Game Boy and Game Boy Color together. So that should answer the question. It's not a sequel. They're in the same fucking app. They didn't make a Game Boy Color app. Assholes.
The debates will still go on for years.
I know. I'm just being an asshole. But yeah, it's cool to see. You know, it'll be curious to see. I safe bet when the Switch 2 happens, all the NSO is just going to move right over. Like
I hope so.
I don't see them restarting the drip feed. Especially if it's like they're like, oh, your account's going to carry over. Like they know there's going to be millions of people that day moving their account from Switch 1 to Switch 2. And they're going to expect everything they have to be there. You know, like an NSO is like the easiest one. Like you probably don't even have to do much to get it on the next one. So hopefully all that work is done and it's just ready to go, which would be which I would say, like, if you're getting the Switch 2 and you're brand new, signing up for NSO to play the classic games, it's more enticing now because if you pay for it now, you get a bunch of shit like right out the gate. So, but we'll see. But we won't stick to that too long. Another thing that showed up, which I thought was really cool, is Virtua Fighter 5 is getting a Steam remaster called Virtua Fighter 5 REVO. I don't know what REVO is. For the Virtua Fighter fan that I am, I don't know what that fucking means. But it's cool to see that, like, yeah, Sega out of the blue is like, oh, we still care about Virtua Fighter. Here's Virtua Fighter 5, and it's just Virtua Fighter 5 on PC, with like 4K visuals, rollback netcode, you know, all the standard stuff it would have now. It's cool to see that it's there.
It's cool to play that game nowadays and realize how fucking how ahead of its time that game was, because like it still holds up.
Oh, it's still like one of the best fighting games I think I've ever played. Like it is super fucking cool, and it's just a shame we still don't have a Virtua Fighter 6. It would be nice if this version of Virtua Fighter 5 comes to all the consoles. PlayStation, Xbox, maybe Switch 2, and like has like crossplay, with everything. Like that would be sick. I would jump all over that. So hopefully that's in the works, because some companies tend to like put their stuff on PC first before the console because it's easier to get. So hopefully that comes. But I saw that and I was like, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. So let's see. Another small thing. The Xbox Avatar Editor app is closing due to low engagement. Now, some of you probably don't know what I'm talking about, which explains why they're shutting it down. If you remember in the 360 days when they brought in the avatars, like their version of the Miis, if you guys remember that, on the series, it might be on the one as well. They had like a little avatar maker. And it's decent, like it's more high quality than the avatars or the Miis were, but it's just kind of whatever. I think I messed with it once. I think I made myself once, and then that was it. So I'm not surprised they're shutting it down.
Yeah, it's like the Mii Maker on the Mii Maker on the Switch. It's like it's there, but no one fucking cares about it.
Yeah. I think I made a Mii on there once because I had to, and then that was kind of it. Because it does not have the same charm as it used to.
See, nothing will be as bad as like PlayStation Home, where like you got this whole little like basically Sims game that you could run around in for like as long as you felt like it, and that shit's just gone. Like you can never play it again.
Yeah. There's always been talk about them bringing it back, but I don't think they ever.
For the time, it was cool.
It was cool. I remember seeing it, and I remember like I went over to a friend's house and he was showing me it, and I just remember thinking, I'm like, this is just like The Sims and like a little bit of Animal Crossing, but it just has like Sony logos on it. You know what I mean?
It was pretty lively for a time during like the PS3 era, and I remember messing around with it, and I was always like, this is cool. I hope they continue on with this, and they never did.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see them try it again, but my guess is that's not in their cards. But
no, I think we're past the time where people would actually mess around with it the same way.
Yeah. Because these days, if you want to do that kind of stuff, you get like VR chat.
Yeah.
And VR chat is a cesspool. So I would be scared of going in there, kids. But yeah, the Avatar Editor, we're at a point where it's like nobody cares about that shit anymore. No. Like it had its moment. It was cute at first, but like it's fine. So I remember I just saw that headline and it's just like, figured I'd mention it, I guess. I guess CD Projekt Red had their like financial call or whatever, and they're just like, The Witcher 4 is in full scale production. And I'm like, well, what about the remake of Witcher 1 that you said you were doing? Maybe that's sooner than we think. Who knows? And they're doing some Cyberpunk stuff. So Cyberpunk sold 30 million copies. So including mine that I didn't buy. Thanks, Chris.
Cyberpunk's Cyberpunk's one of those games to me where it's kind of like, I think it ended up exactly where it was destined to end up. I just think that the fucking ridiculous hype train hurt it in the early days. It took a bit to get to where it was going to get regardless.
I completely agree. So, and then I have two more things. We'll wrap it up. They're both Sony. So strap in, everybody. Strap in, Will. The first one is Sony now has confirmed the PS2 sold 160 million units. So Sony has updated PlayStation's website with a timeline chronicling 30 years of the brand. And in there, it says that 160 million PS2 consoles were sold worldwide. Now, if we remember, when Jim Ryan was leaving on like the PlayStation podcast, he just kind of threw that out there. And everyone was like, wait, really? And I guess Sony has now confirmed it. So it sits at 160, which is a number I don't think the Switch can get to.
No, it also kind of metaphorically kind of just shits on the DS a little bit because it's like the DS was that close and now it's like, it's more like this.
Yeah, but still selling 154 million is pretty good. Like I don't think the Switch is going to cross 150.
Oh yeah, like to me, like a lot of people always the seventh generation of consoles, like Nintendo fucking destroyed that generation, and a lot of people will tend to like be like, they just got lucky with the Wii's early dominance. So I'm like, are you forgetting the DS was also that generation, and they fucking annihilated?
I think it was the Wii did kind of hit like just the right time frame to be as successful as it was, but the DS was just them, continuing their like handheld dominance. And that all like the Wii and the DS era both hit the casual market, like right at the precipice where the casual market still gave a crap about this until the phone took over everything, right?
The DS, though,
as far as casual gaming goes.
I will say the DS, though, was able to bridge the gap between casual and hardcore.
Yes, the DS did a much, much better job of it because it had the casual stuff like your Brain Ages and everything, but it also had like a lot of like, hardcore gamer stuff. Like it was loaded with RPGs. It has a lot of really cool like visual novel stuff. And I think it was just devs had more ideas and ways to innovate with the 2-screen setup than say the Wii motion controls, So, and the DS, I think it aged far better because it's like, we don't talk about how successful the DS was because it was like the Wii generation. Right. But the DS like kind of, secretly was a powerhouse. And at its peak, I knew a bunch of people who had DSs. And I was the one, and I was the guy with the PSP because at the time I hated the DS because I was a hardcore GBA guy. And I was like, I love my GBA. Why are they getting rid of the DS? And I was kind of pissed about it. And I held on to my GBA for as long as I could until eventually I got a DS and got a few games for it and realized I was just being a little whiny baby about it. Yeah. The DS is actually really fucking cool. And I have my modded 3DS so I can play just about any DS game I want. So yeah, DS is a great console for sure. And the PS2 was a great console as well. I grew up with one. So, but yeah, like the sale, like confirming it at 160, cool. Again, I don't know. I can't remember like how many units the Switch has sold at this point. It's like, is it in the 140s now?
Yeah, it was like 140 something the last I checked.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it'll hit that 150. I don't think it has it in it.
I don't think a console will ever hit the PS2. The PS2 was just such a right place, right time, monumental kind of thing.
Well, it helped that a lot of people bought it that didn't play games on it.
Oh, yeah. The majority of PS2...
There's quite a few of those people.
The majority of PS2s out in the world have never played a video game.
Oh, yeah. Like at least 20 million of them. I would make that number. I'd say 20 million of them never played a game.
I have 2 PS2s currently. I've got my Fat and my Slim. The reason the Fat is Jake is fucking barely works is because we overplayed DVDs on that fucking thing. It like that laser struggles these days.
Yeah, like I think lasers are starting to go out on PS2s, especially I think it's like the Slim models. So they're starting to fail, which is a shame. But yeah, the Switch is at 146.04 million units. That was as of September this year. So when it gets through the holidays, it could hit 150, but I think it'll stall at 150 max. I don't think it'll go beyond that. Especially when next year will be like all about the next Switch. So
yeah. I do wonder though how much overlap we're gonna get, like, because I know like there are still. I don't think they're gonna discontinue the Switch outright. I think it's gonna be kind of a transitional period. So I feel like they're still gonna get some sales.
Yeah, it'll have cross-gen because it'll get Prime 4. I don't think it'll get the next 3D Mario, but it'll get Prime 4, and there will be a lot of companies that like making third-party stuff where they're like, we'll just throw it on the Switch. Because if it's backwards compatible, hopefully like fully, then a lot of companies will do what they're doing now, which is they'll just be like, we'll just make like a PS4 version. It'll play on the PS5, that kind of stuff.
We're like 4 years into PS5 and Xbox Series, and we're still getting PS4 and Xbox One versions.
Though a lot of that is just because they're both backwards compatible. Yeah. And for certain things, it's like they don't need a native PS5 or Series X version. Like they'll run just fine being like,
it also helps too that,
so it gives it more options because if somebody just has a base PS4, they can get that game and be fine. So they reach more people. So
it also helps too that both consoles are built off of basically the same base chipsets.
Yeah, it's just the PS5 and the Series X are much better versions of the PS4 and the Xbox One because I did not enjoy my time with either as far as like the hardware was concerned because I found them both to be kind of underpowered. Like the menus were really slow and I just found them not enjoyable experiences as far as navigating the consoles. But at least with the Series X, it's probably the same with the PS5. It's a much improved piece of product from that standpoint. So and I don't really have issues playing or running games on my Series X, so I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, the PS5's menu and like operating system, like UI, is pretty good. I still prefer the cross media bar. Like, I still think that was like the perfect menu, like just for a video game system.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if the Series X had a little bit of a different UI change from the one, because it's the exact same one. It would. There's been some slight alterations to it, but it's more just like, I think it's on the one as well. Like, it would have been nice if there was more of like this is like a different UI, but what can you do? It is what it is. I mean, maybe the Switch 2 will actually give us themes this time. That'd be nice.
Not just light and dark.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but we'll see. One last thing. I know it's been going 30 minutes, but this is the last one. Sony is planning a new PlayStation handheld. We're getting another PSP, everybody. It's fucking happening.
I mean, the last one they made was amazing. They just fucking didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah, this is according to Bloomberg. Sony is in the early stages of developing a device which is still years away from a potential release. The product is aimed at expanding Sony's reach and contending with Nintendo for the portable gaming market, according to people familiar with the development. The concept could build on the recently launched PlayStation Portal, which is capable of streaming PS5 games via the cloud, but it cannot natively play titles. And earlier this month, Phil Spencer from Xbox confirmed that Microsoft is working on handheld gaming prototypes as well. So what I said years ago, I think it was even before I started podcasting, was, like, I'd said it to buddies of mine, that like the success of the Switch is going to cause Sony and Microsoft, and I think the Steam Deck as well, the success of the Steam Deck is going to have Sony and Microsoft going, can we do this? And if they can make, like, say, their Steam Decks or ROG Allies or whatever, and those take off, would that be the future of console gaming, where it's all just like a handheld thing that you dock into a TV? Like, that's just going to be every console now. Because
as be upset with that.
Well, as the technology gets better and it gets cheaper, and the added convenience of being able to take your games wherever you go, and with the success of these handheld PCs and everything, along with the Switch and the Steam Deck, it just screams to me that in 10 years, I feel like the big box you put under the TV is going to be a thing of the past. Which I know some people who probably wouldn't be huge on that. And I understand that, because it feels like you might be sacrificing some power, and there's some people who just don't give a shit about the portability. But it feels like, that might be where Sony and Microsoft head. They might do it a little differently. They might still like give you the black box under your TV option if you want it. But I think if we get to a point where it's like those things are powerful enough to run anything and it's not a big deal at all, it's like, why bother? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I love that.
It'd be nice.
I love the quote, compete with Nintendo in the handheld space. I'm just like, that is such a funny quote, because we're like, this never worked.
They tried last time. How'd that work out?
This has never worked for any of them. The closest the company's ever come is the PSP, and it went up against the DS. Like, it had no shot.
The PSP did really well. It sold better. It sold better than just about every other Nintendo portable hardware. So, except the Game Boy Color, and the DS. It sold better than the GBA. It sold better than the 3DS.
And the Switch, technically. But
no, it hadn't sold better than the Switch, because the PSP sold at like 80 million.
That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah. I was always, the Switch is always like the weird hybrid thing.
Yeah.
I don't view it as a portable thing, even though it is portable. But
the PSP is such a weird anomaly, because like, if you
it was cool.
It's a great handheld. It just has such a weird, like, when you put it next to its competitor, it looks pathetic. But when you actually look at it on the grand scope of things, it's one of the best-selling handhelds ever.
What I liked about the DS PSP like rivalry is that both consoles, or both handhelds, had completely distinct identities.
Oh yeah, they took completely different directions.
Yeah, and they both were like really good. Like, the DS was doing the Nintendo thing of like, we're going to give you fresh new experiences on like slightly underpowered hardware, even though they were pushing the power of the DS at the start, when they were like, we can get a fucking Metroid Prime game on here. Isn't that cool? They were pushing for that. But then they eventually were like, let's just backpedal, appeal to the casuals. That seems to work. And then let third parties have a fucking field day on the thing. And they did. especially if you're an RPG person. You probably love
yeah.
the fucking DS. It's kind of insane how many RPGs are on the DS, and like really good quality ones too. It's amazing.
It's crazy because then on the flip side, the PSP also had so many good RPGs.
Oh, that had a lot of really good RPGs as well. They went like different directions with it. And on top of that, they were just trying to be like somewhere between a PS1 and a PS2 as far as the power was in your pocket. I don't think its library was as strong as the DS's. It's hard to compete with that though. But the PSP was no slouch. Like it had some really, really good games on there. Games that are still really good to this day. Like the God of War games are really good. Jean d'Arc is a fantastic game on there. Patapon, Loco Roco, you know.
Daxter was a fun little game.
Daxter's okay. I mean, I have a soft spot for Fat Princess.
Fat Princess is a legitimately good game.
Yeah. And it was still that era where Sony was doing a bunch of weird stuff.
The last two Siphon Filters were
Siphon Filters. There was SOCOM on there. There were some Battlefront games.
About
it's just I remember the PSP like it felt like this really cool advanced piece of hardware. You know,
it's technically more powerful than a PS2.
But it
crazy.
But the damn thing was so flimsy because my screen broke on it twice from the light use, really. And then like the analog stick wasn't great, and then the idea of putting discs in a portable machine.
That was always a weird choice.
I always wanted to crack one of those open just to hold the disc. I never did, but I always wanted to.
And then you'd go to GameStop and you'd find those weird like third-party like disc like cases, and you're always like, "What happened here?" Like,
who did this? What's wrong with you? Yeah, and then people who would like throw away the plastic case and then keep the discs like stacked on that. Like,
I hated that so much.
Monsters, they're in jail. But it'd be interesting to see them attempt like a portable thing again. My guess is it'll probably be a PlayStation Portal that just like you can play games natively on. That's probably all it'll be. So
I want to know a weird thing about the PSP that I thought about one day, and I was like, this is a really weird statistic. Have you noticed how many fucking remakes were on the PSP?
There was a lot of remakes.
Like 2 Mega Mans, a shit ton of Final Fantasies, like Personas, Yeast.
Final Fantasy.
Legendary Heroes.
It's crazy how like Final Fantasy on the DS and the PSP were two different beasts entirely.
Oh yeah.
Like there would be like even if it was the same game, it would be different versions of it. Because like the DS got the weird 3D remakes, and then the PSP, and then PSP got like the more like accurate like 2D remakes, which like you think would be flipped.
I always laugh because I always say like Final Fantasy IV, the complete collection on a PSP is like the original like HD 2D.
It really was, because I remember in that era, that's when I first started like hearing about Final Fantasy, and everyone was like, "Oh, you need to get the Final Fantasy games for PSP," because I had a PSP, and they're like the best versions of what Final Fantasy games got 1, 2, 3, 4
so
Tactics and Tactic. Yeah, because it was 3's first release ever outside of Japan. It finally broke out.
Yeah.
4, it was 4 had the on DS. It was like that weird 3D one, which is like a love it or hate it kind of one. And then on PSP, it was the complete collection because it included the After Years
and
on there.
Also had this new interlude thing, which is completely pointless, but it's still kind of cool.
Yeah, so and I think some people still say that's like the definitive version of 4.
That's my favorite version of 4.
It is all that stuff on the Pixel remaster of 4.
No, well, a lot of the bonus like GBA stuff is, but none of the After Years or like interlude stuff.
Okay, am I missing anything if I don't do After Years?
Not real. After Years is okay, but it's not like you're not gonna be heartbroken for not playing. Like 4 has such a definitive, like great ending.
Yeah,
that After Years didn't.
I do like
it.
4. I've put a decent amount of time into 4, and I really enjoy that game because I was telling Bill off stream that I bought the Pixel remasters and a bunch of other Final Fantasy games, so that 2025 will be the year I play through Final Fantasy. So hopefully, like beat all these games, and I already have a soft spot for 4. Because I've played a good chunk of it, and I do like it. I like Cecil as a character and all that stuff. So who knows? Maybe when I finish 4, I'll probably just look up what happens in the After Years.
You're not missing much. It's an interesting idea, but nothing that you have to play to feel fulfilled.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, we'll see what Sony and Microsoft do with the idea of like handheld because Microsoft's never done one. They've never had a portable ever. I think there was like a rumor of them doing like a PSP style thing during the 360 years, but I think they went against it because they just wanted to focus on the 360, which I think was the smart thing to do.
I think they saw how Sony was faring against Nintendo, and they kind of went, maybe not.
Yeah, because they would have been a distant third even then, you know. And then, Sony, because they completely gave up on the Vita. Like, completely gave up on it.
Tragically.
Tragically, because the Vita's cool.
I still think the Vita is the greatest handheld ever made, just from a system, like what it was capable of. Like a dedicated handheld, I think it's like...
It's pretty cool, yeah. I mean, I'm always in the GBA camp. That's just me.
Fair.
But, because, again, I think the Vita just doesn't have the library to compete, but
it's got a fascinating library. Unfortunately, it
has a very interesting library. Yes. Like it still surprises me what released on that damn thing.
Oh yeah. Go to a convention and just look through the Vita tables and be like, the fuck is all this shit?
Exactly. So, but yeah, I guess that's the news. We went 40 minutes instead of an hour. So I think we're doing better.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to talk about Sesame Street numbers for the 3DO.
Oh boy, we don't have a physical because this game's weirdly expensive.
Yeah, there was only 2 eBay listings I saw. One was for 60, one was for 75, and I'm not spending that much on this fucking game. So sorry, Sesame Street fans. I know you're listening.
If you do want to play it though, you might not have a PC that can run it, but this was available on PC because that's actually how I played this game back in the day.
Yeah, you had like a weird epiphany playing this game, didn't you?
When I booted up the emulator, I was having this kind of like weird, like the way I'll describe it is it's like a nostalgic kind of like epiphany where like you're sitting there and you're like, why is this vaguely familiar? Like I remember this, but I have no idea why. And then it hit me. I'm like, this was on the grade school PC back in the day. I remember this like vividly. And I remember thinking it was boring as fuck then.
Wow.
Yeah. I like Putt Putt more. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Putt Putt's more stimulating.
That being said, though, a little backstory. This game actually debuted on the CDI of all things.
That makes sense. It has CDI energy.
This is technically a CDI port. That is a weird thing to think about.
It is weird to think about, but
it
fits with what the CDI is. You know what I mean?
It's got a very CDI-esque look to it. Like the graphics are uncanny in a lot of ways. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, and for some reason, the 3DO version has the EA Kids thing on it, which I had never seen before.
So EA technically published it, but they used their EA Kids branding, which apparently, from what Moby Games tells me, doesn't exist anymore. It was a side label that they used from 93 to 95. Most of the games were typical licensed games slop. There's a Sesame Street game on Genesis that used it called Counting Cafe.
I don't think I've played that one. There's one other Sesame Street game I've played, which is the one on the NES where you play as the Count. And you're like either hopping or running to collect numbers. I forget. Is it Fun with Numbers or something like that? I forget what it's called.
I think so.
I played a fair amount of that. It's at the very least it's a game, which is more than I can say about this.
Yeah. The game was developed by so they've gone by many names. At the time this game's release, they were known as Children's Television Workshop.
Nowadays, but I'm pretty sure that's the production company that makes Sesame Street, isn't it?
It is. They later rebranded just as Sesame Workshop Inc.
Yeah.
And if you look through all of their games that they've made, they're all Sesame Street related.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the company that I think Jim Henson, or no, it wasn't Jim Henson. It was 2 other people made for Sesame Street, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea was they were like going to be like like a nonprofit PBS style thing where they just made a bunch of children's programming. And I think they made a lot more than Sesame Street, but it was Sesame Street that took off and became like the big thing. And then that's, what they've rebranded themselves as, which again makes perfect sense.
What's funny is like all their games are Sesame Street, but then they also made a couple Dragon Tales games.
Hell yeah.
You ever want some fun? Look up Dragon Tales in the Discord gift search. The first gift that pops up is wonderful.
Don't do that to them. I just think it's funny that this company went out of their way to make their own. Like they couldn't trust anybody else to make Sesame Street games, so they just did it themselves, which I can respect. I can respect that. What's
kind of funny is they made games up until 2004, then they just disappeared for almost a decade, and then they came back in 2013 or 2011 and made a couple more games up until 2015 for iPads.
Yeah. Though I think it's Tim Schafer made a Sesame Street game, right?
I believe he did.
Yeah, because it was him messing around with the Kinect, and because of that, he made some of the best Kinect games. One of which was that Sesame Street game. Oh yeah, there was Happy Action Theaters. The other one I'm thinking of, Sesame Street: Once Upon a Monster. Yeah, I've seen this game before, and people seem to really dig it. But that's a whole nother beast entirely.
Yeah, I'll say right off the bat, starting this game up, it looks uncanny as fuck.
I hate how it looks. It looks so bad.
It almost stares into your fucking soul.
Yeah, it everything looks like what it's supposed to look like, but yeah, it just has that I don't know. It's like the AI filter on it. You know what I mean? When you look at shit that's AI, it just has this weird look about it. This kind of has that, which is gross.
It reminds me of any old school educational edutainment game from back in the day, where it's essentially you get an activity screen and you can kind of scroll around on the screen and just click on shit. And some stuff is actual mini games or leads to other stuff, but for the most part, it's like a humongous game. You click on shit and stuff happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's nowhere near as charming as a humongous game.
No. I said it to Bill. It's the equivalent of those baby toys that you see. That it's just it's a video game controller or just some random thing that has buttons and lights and sounds and all that, and you just give it to an infant to just mash on it with their little tiny hands to entertain them for an hour or something while you can get dinner done. This game is that, but a digital version that talks to you. And yeah, you get to hang out with Elmo, Bert and Ernie, the Count, and Big Bird. And you get cameos from Grover, Oscar. The credits credit Kermit the Frog, but I never saw him.
I didn't see him. I would have known if I saw that wonderful.
Yeah, you know it's fucking Kermit when he's there. But yeah, playing this game, it reminded me of sort of my hierarchy of Sesame Street characters. I think Cookie Monster has a little cameo in it as well. And my hierarchy, whereas the Count is great. He's the pimp. Everyone loves the Count. Bert and Ernie are fantastic. I love those two to death. Children's programming's first gay couple. Though in the game, they have two separate beds.
They did in the show too. I remember that.
Well, originally it was one bed. They slept in one bed, and then of course people ask questions as they do. And then they split up. And
as a kid, I never did.
Kids never think about it. It's the adults that watched it. The homophobic 70s parents who were my kids are watching these gays. We can't have that, I
never even noticed until older. I grew up and I was it makes a lot of sense.
But I love Bert and Ernie's interactions where, Ernie's this philosophical romantic type. And Bert's just he's that's very nice, Ernie, but I think it's just this, the straight man, it's great.
He's got
honestly
Squidward energy.
I was just about to say Bert and Ernie are like SpongeBob and Squidward. It's that kind of relationship.
It's like what the fandom wants SpongeBob and Squidward to be.
Yeah, no, it's SpongeBob and Patrick.
Fair.
Yeah. And then Big Bird's fine.
I learned a lot about Big Bird in this game that I didn't know.
And the Count too. the
Don't
count.
judge.
I'm not judging. It's just the count's just like he don't give a shit. You know, he has that pimp energy that he doesn't give a fuck. He's gonna count. You know, he's counting his money. And Big Bird, I don't know. Big Bird's fine. You know, I like Big Bird is like it's trying to give you that like pleasant kind of comforting thing. That's like, oh, you know, but he's fine. You know, Big Bird seems nice, but you know, so I like Snuffleupagus. He's in this. Who doesn't like Snuffleupagus? But it's a shame that like all the cameo characters are like some of my favorites, like Oscar the Grouch. Everyone loves Oscar. Cookie Monster. I mean, who doesn't fucking love Cookie Monster? He's awesome. And I've always had a soft spot for Grover. I don't know. Grover sits in here, but I realized I confirmed it. I've probably said it before, but I'll confirm it here. I fucking hate Elmo. I hate Elmo. I hate his guts. I hate his fucking red furry ass guts because he's like the most annoying fucking kid in the entire world who just yells at you and it's like fucking stupid. I know he's a sweet little 5-year-old, but I just fucking hate him so goddamn much. And he annoys you this entire fucking game, you know, because you get like the phones, right? And he'll call you and just be like, hey, come back and hang out with me. It's been a while. It's like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hang out with you. Go away. Go away. Go back to the sandwich shop that's on fire and jump in it.
It always reminds me of the early days of YouTube where there was just like hundreds of videos of people just setting Tickle Me Elmos on fire.
I remember that, yeah.
I always be like, why was this a genre of YouTube for a while? But
it's just the idea of setting random things on fire is just fun. You know?
Well, especially a Tickle Me Elmo that's like laughing while it's burning to death. And you're always like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
Yeah, I don't hate him that much. I'm not that crazy. But it's like, again, I wouldn't call this a game. It's not even really like a learning tool. Like it tries to be all, it's like trying to be like, oh, like you learn to count or whatever. But it's like so incredibly basic in any sort of like gameplay or even like any educational material about like counting numbers. It doesn't like, it's a distraction for a little kid. That's all it is. Like there's nothing special about it because there are some Sesame Street games that are like actually trying to be games, and that makes them like kind of interesting to be like, oh, you know, like those two N64 Sesame Street games. Like those are far more interesting than this.
It's not Sesame Street, but the Muppets racing game on PS1 is a fucking gem. That no
well, with the Muppets, they feel more like they actually want to make games for them because they're not like specifically for children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least not like, you know, like dumb babies who watch public access. You know what I mean? Like the Muppets have a little bit more class to them, so they're willing to do other things. You know? Yeah. I'm not poor shaming with the Sesame Street. Okay, I grew up on it, so don't worry about it.
I think we all
because we're of that age to where, you know, when we were younger, we know Sesame Street. Like growing up, I had like Sesame Street like cassettes where it was like the characters would would narrate like little stories or whatever, and I would sit there with like these big headphones on and just listen to them over and over again. And like one of them was Grover. I forget what Grover was doing. He was Grovering. And then there was one of like Bert and Ernie like arguing or something or whatever, and it was so adorable. So I grew up with Sesame Street. Okay, so fuck off. But it's crazy to think that there are probably like whole generations now that like don't really know about that.
Didn't they end it recently? Or?
No, it's still going.
Oh, is it still? I swore I saw something.
I mean, we talk about One Piece having too many episodes. Sesame Street, Jesus Christ, guys! Like there are over 4,700 episodes in, man.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine keeping up with that lore.
Yeah,
going back to the late 60s, man. Like it's crazy.
I always like the banned episodes, like that, like the anti-religion one or whatever. Like,
oh yeah, there's a lot of those ones are the fascinating ones to see, like them like going just a little bit too far. And occasionally they'll make like some slightly adult jokes, you know, but they're always incredibly coy about it. You know,
they got to keep the parents somewhat entertained. Yeah,
because every child wouldn't get any of that shit. You know what I mean? But it's not as explicit as like say like a SpongeBob or something like that. But yeah, this game, it's not even really a game. I don't like it.
No, it's like a borderline. it's like a mini game collection, but like it's so basic. Like it is literally to distract children in grade school when they have their 5 minutes of computer time and they just need something to play for a few minutes. And they didn't want to play 3D Space Pinball again, I guess.
And there was a companion game called Letters, which is basically the same thing. So, but it's weird that didn't get a 3DO port.
Yeah, for some reason I feel like EA, because this is like one of those really early ones that like, because it's got that EA box style, like it's in that little pamphlet that all the EA games came with early on.
Yeah, yeah.
It probably didn't sell particularly well, and EA was like, "Fuck it, let's not do that again."
Yeah, most likely, because it's like, if you can afford a $700 3DO console back then, you did not have any children.
Yeah,
no shot. So, like, yeah, again, maybe if like the 3DO took off as like, you know, the new format or something, and like was used in like institutions or something, like it could have been, but it's like PCs existed, so there was really no reason for that.
I always found like math games were always harder to make interesting for kids. Like there are good math games, but a lot of them I felt like it was harder to do math than like say like English or like history or like science, like stuff like that.
I think it depends on like your level of interest in it, you know?
True.
So, I mean, to be fair, if you want a good math game, just an RPG, dude. Just make like a very kid-friendly RPG, because those all use math anyways. So, you know, it's like, oh, you know, if you do this equation, you can kill the goblin. Killed, you know, like
I mean,
that's
we mentioned it earlier, like Brain Age, like that's like a math kind of game, like learning game that I actually find interesting just because of the way it was designed.
Yeah, because you know Nintendo have good game designers, and we're able to make something pretty fascinating out of like Brain Age. And
that was
what was the other one?
Big Brain Academy.
Big Brain Academy. Yeah.
That one wasn't it wasn't bad, but it wasn't. So Brain Age was made by Iwata, and it shows.
Yeah. Iwata was a master.
Iwata was a genius. Like that man. Like Nintendo's doing fine, but they lost something special when that man died.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, this game out. I don't know. I like Sesame Street. I'll always have a soft spot for it. But this game just doesn't really do it justice. You know, like again, I don't know what like the really good Sesame Street games are. I mean, somebody knows out there. There's somebody who's played all of the Sesame Street games and can tell you which ones are actually like worth your goddamn time. You know, I mean that NES one I mentioned again. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. Because I know it stars the Count. It's on the NES and all that, and it's not a bad game for what it is. At the very least, it's a game. So you can actually like mess around with it. And it has like pretty good voice sampling for an NES game. So
yeah,
I'll give it that. Like the Count, like his voice is there and it's pretty clear. So that's pretty impressive. So
I will say one thing about this game is the voices are pretty good. They got most of the cast from the show to voice everybody. Like Jim Henson actually played Ernie and Kermit the Frog. Yeah, Kermit is apparently in here somewhere.
I think he does like a voice or something, you know, Kermit the Frog, you know.
Yeah.
But
Frank Oz was here.
Good old Frank Oz. Though I imagine it's easy to get the Sesame Street voice cast for these games, you know. I mean, I know Frank Oz is a busy guy, but like,
well, I think he's retired from it now at this point.
Well, back in the day.
Well, yeah, at the time. Yeah. Other than that, though, like I'm trying to think of the game. Is it bad that I can't even remember half the mini games in this because they were so? I remember the paperclip one with like.
There's the paperclip one. There was the like, essentially like the hot cold with Big Bird, where he like hides the bird seed, and he's like, click an object, and I'll tell you how near or far you are from it. You know, so you just get infinite tries till you figure it out. There's the one with Elmo where he's like, you know, put this many things in the gift or whatever, and you just have to, you know, get them all or whatever. It's all like, again, these aren't like games that I don't think really have that much educational quality to them because there's nothing that interesting about them, really. Yeah. Like they sound like they would be more fun if you did them in real life. You
honestly, know? I feel like I learned more in fucking Station Invasion, and that's saying something.
Or Tripped. Or Twisted. Twisted is what I was thinking.
Twisted's just, that's entertaining.
Twisted, I learned how to be a man.
I learned what happens when you get a bomb. Fire in the hole.
Exactly.
Fuck the grocery game though. I still don't get that one.
Yeah, that one was bad. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know. This was bad. I didn't like this one at all.
Yeah, this is like probably one of the I guarantee there was a lot of lazy ports to the 3DO early on, and this was probably one of the laziest ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. It's
I just laughed because like
Street. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of Sesame Street games for the Atari. I forgot about that.
There sure is. It's just funny to
me.
Me.
My favorite one is called Cookie Monster Munch.
I love the simplicity of there is just something adorable about the simplicity of Atari games, like especially the fucking unlicensed jank ones. Like I'm trying to think, what was that one from
Oscar's Trash Race? Sesame Street Countdown. That's the one the NES one. Countdown.
Nice.
I like that game for what it is.
I don't know why whenever I think the Count, I just think of that YouTube video called The Count Censored where they just bleeped out every time he says count. So it sounds like he's just swearing profusely.
Yeah. Yeah. 7 divorces. There's like a sports game on like Game Boy Color. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, some weird shit. But yeah. We need a Sesame Street turn-based RPG. That's what we need, okay? Like where we get the gang together and then they go on like a mission to like, I don't know, murder somebody or whatever.
Kill Elmo, he's the final boss.
But like you can have, say, the attacks be sort of like, math equations or like, filling in like the missing letter or things like that. Like you could do that. Because I think turn-based games are good for like, say, like educational purposes because they're slow pace. So you don't have to worry about reaction time. And you can use, say, like, when you fight, say, like, before Ernie can like sock this like evil Munch in the face, be like, what is 2 + 1? Be like 3. All right, you do 3 damage, that kind of thing or something like that. Like there's something there that's like people would probably be like, this is kind of like a fun little RPG or whatever, but I just don't think Sesame Street really cares.
No.
And that's fine. They don't need to cater to us. They don't need to do that.
Yeah. Looking into reviews for this game, they weren't very easy to find because like this game doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
It's hard to review educational games.
They really are. So on Moby Games, the 3DO version has 2 ratings, and it has an 82% and 4.5 stars for some reason.
Hell yeah!
So cool. That's something.
Taste.
That being said, must play. Okay, stay away. I mean, obviously, stay away. Like,
just go watch some fucking Sesame Street if you want your fix. Just go watch an episode of it.
The way I see it is like, even if you're like you love Sesame Street, you love educational crap like these games, and you're desperate to play this, why would you buy it on 3DO of all things? Just go on like GOG or whatever.
My Abandonware.
Yeah, it's probably there.
There's no shot it's on GOG. There's no fucking shot.
Yeah, or like CDI emulated or something. I don't know.
Yeah, let me just check GOG, see if there's any Sesame Street game. Let's see. Nothing. Nothing.
They don't have taste over there. I see.
I mean, they only have like the original Resident Evils, which everyone flipped for. Everyone was so happy, and I'm like, you guys, I thought we all hated these games.
Nostalgia is a hell of a thing.
It is one drug.
Not with Sesame Street though, because it literally gave me that memory of, wow, I thought this game was boring as fuck, and it still was.
Yeah, there's no Sesame Street game on Steam either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the modern ones were iPad games that probably are delisted by now.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, there's quite a few on My Abandonware. So if you really want to get your fix, there you go. Yeah. You can do A Sesame Street Let Her Go Round, which is like a Commodore 64 game. The Accounting Cafe for the Genesis. Elmo's Preschool. Elmo's Preschool Search and Learn Adventures. Go Set to Learn. Letters. Open Sesame. What the fuck is Open Sesame? And then those random 2600 games you mentioned. There's like one where it's like Grover's riding a fucking rocket in space. Like that might actually be kind of cool.
Hell yeah. I want to know the context. Like, how did he end up here?
Grover, you and your shenanigans. I love Grover. Grover's my dude. He's my dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that being said, though, this is an easy stay away. I think it's the first like double stay away we've had in a while.
Yeah. It was one of those I was hoping it would be a little bit more, or at least would have something of value to it, because with these kind of licenses from this era, you never really know what you're going to get, because it's easy to write off all licensed games from this era as crap when, there's some interesting ones in there. But unfortunately, this was not one of those.
No, when I'm thinking of like educational games that happen to get 3DO ports, like the ones I'm looking forward to are like, there's 2 putt-putts. So there's that.
Those will be fun.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to get the physicals because those are expensive as shit now too, for whatever reason. But
it's just the way it goes.
Thankfully, you can play every single Humongous game on Steam. So
thank God.
And if you're drunk on like a Friday night, you can buy them all during the Steam sale. They have that was a thing.
Now that's the most like millennial nostalgia thing I could think of. Drunk buying Humongous Entertainment games on Steam.
Buying every. Not buying. Not just buying Humongous.
That's the most like depressingly trying to relive your childhood. Like just in one little ball. It's amazing.
Yeah. Though the best part is not just a couple. Every single one.
Yeah, they're all on there because I forget who owns them now. Is Atari own all those now?
I'm pretty sure it's still Atari. What's hilarious is like it's all of them except for the Backyard Sports games. Those are sold separately.
Yeah, because they put out Backyard, what was it, Baseball on Steam not that long ago, and people flipped for it. They're like, "Fuck yes!"
Well, I mean, we played. That was like the shit back in like middle.
I mean, I played a lot of Backyard Football, and I had Backyard Basketball. I played that a shit ton as well. So I've never played the Backyard Baseball games, but maybe. Oh yeah, Backyard Baseball '97. Yeah, it's $10, and it has overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Oh yeah. That's nostalgia. Yeah. That's nostalgia for you right there.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I could imagine the way the Backyard Sports games are on PC that the baseball one would like make sense as far as how it plays. So, I don't know. Maybe I should give it a shot.
Yep. Well, other than that, I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week. We got a bit of a gap before our big surprise episode we've been hyping up.
I think. Is there anything light that we can do again?
Let me consult my 3DO collection. Do we have anything easy?
I mean, we could do like a racing game. We have not done a racing game in a while.
No, we haven't. The last one we did was Need for Speed, I want to say.
Damn. We're
setting
a high bar for whatever racing. I'm trying to think what other racing games there are. I know there's BC Racers. That's the only one I know of, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Like, there isn't a ton of options. Yeah, because we kind of played the ones that matter. I mean, we could do BC Racers. That's a interesting enough game, and it's easy enough to emulate.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we'll play BC Racers by, I think that was Core Design actually made that.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be interesting to look into. Yeah. So, anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on 3DO. We haven't had a lot of games recently that had a lot of depth to them, but we trust you. A couple of weeks from now, we're going to have quite the episode.
We're filling it out with news.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for our special episode, no news.
No, we're going to have.
We're not associating ourselves with that.
We'll have a big group of. We'll have a big guest panel for that one, and
can't wait.
Just awarding no kiddos for that one. But,
yeah.
Anyways,
if you listen to this with your children, please don't.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
what kid is interested in 3DO at this point?
Well,
then again,
you ask. There's always one.
You never know.
There's always one nerd.
Very true. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the 3DO Experience. You can find the 3DO Experience on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. You can also find us over at the Superpod Network. That is superpodnetwork.com. It's an awesome website full of a bunch of podcasters. We have a whole bunch of shows, videos, blogs. We're just wrapping up this month's our favorite Super Nintendo games blogs, and we've had a ton of awesome things. Like Thrak did a Chrono Trigger blog. I talked about SOS. I believe a fellow GNC member, Matt, just put out his blog on Dragon Quest V. So a lot of cool stuff going on right there now. You also can check out all the shows on Superpod, including Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, A Novel Console, Bar Silence, Fine Time, the Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, Remember 64. I believe they're coming back pretty soon, so look out for that.
All right.
Gaming Together, Friday Night Gamecast, of course, our 3 shows, Gaming and Collecting, the 3DO Experience, Geek Addicts, and also the Retro Wildlands, Press B to Cancel, and the Pre-Order Bonus Podcast. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the 3DO Experience, and we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?